So recently I'm making a move in my career, and in this video I'd like to share how I came about this entire process called internal mobility. Basically, it's moving from one job to another, and what are the tips that I recommend so that if you're looking to move to another job within the same company, I hope this video helps you. Hey friends, welcome back to my video. If you're new here, my name is Andrew To and I am an analyst working in a bank here in Singapore. In this channel, we explore ways to make work more fun and productive. When it comes to making a move within a company, I think the most important step that really made a difference is to have a conversation with my line manager. And I also had external conversations with my mentors and people that I trust within a company as well, so that they can give me an external perspective of what it means to move between roles and how that can help me to advance in my career. And throughout the process, I learned that it is incredibly important to stay positive. So what does it feel like to think about making a move in a career? I think that throughout a career, sometimes we will find ourselves in a job that we don't like anymore. So when that happens, we can either think about moving to another job or moving to another role or moving to another company. But there are certain reasons why we probably wouldn't want to move to a company, maybe because we already like the existing company that we're in, or we don't want to leave our friends and or the trusted network that we've built up over time. So one alternative is to look for another role within a company. And this can be easily done by browsing the internal job page of the company's job portal. But there are struggles that we definitely will encounter along the way, especially at the start, which is like, okay, how am I supposed to even start this conversation? Like, when is it the right time for me to do this? Or sometimes there might be common objections like, what if my line manager doesn't agree? Or what if, there are so many what ifs. But I'd like to share with you some studies that have been done about why internal mobility is really the way to go nowadays in companies and why we shouldn't be afraid really to about this to our line managers. So leading publications like Harvard Business Review, Deloitte, and Forbes have found that internal mobility really is one of the better ways to hire talents nowadays. It helps to deepen the knowledge pool of existing employees and increase retention overall. So increasingly, I think that companies are more likely to hire within rather than going externally because there are other costs associated with that. In my personal experience, I've met many people who have done many internal roles within the same company itself. And when I talk to them, I really admire the deep level of knowledge they have about not only just a single subject, but they practically know many different aspects of the topic itself, and it's so amazing that I get to learn so much from these people. But it wouldn't have been possible if they had not rotated within different roles in a company itself. Some of them have done overseas roles or within local function itself, but it has helped them to build a long-term career within the same company. And I think that as millennials, we probably would face multiple shifts, more shifts in our careers than the previous generation in these fast changing times. But I think that those shifts don't necessarily need to happen between companies. We don't necessarily need to change jobs every single year or so. But it doesn't mean that we have to leave for another companies, because companies these days touch many areas, many aspects of the business, and we definitely could find another role that we like in another department. In my experience, I think that there are three common difficulties that we would face along the way. The first is, how do we actually get started? How do we actually go around doing that? What's the whole process like? And what can we expect from it? The second difficulty, that how do I actually bring out that conversation with my manager? And what if, and I had to deal with many what ifs my manager doesn't like this, or what if I couldn't find another role, or what if the move didn't work out, and what will my manager think of me? I think these are many common thoughts about it. And the third common concern is, what is a new job going to look like? I don't know anyone in the new team. What is it going to be for me, and what does this mean for my career? So while the job description looks good, but I probably only know just one or two people in the new team. So how could I re-establish myself again? Now, these are real concerns that an actual survey done by Deloitte in 2019 found that the biggest challenges that organizations face when it comes to internal mobility are the lack of a clear process to go about doing it, availability of talent within the organization, and some managers who may be resistant to give up their team players. However, if we find ourselves in a job that we are not happy and And if we don't move, it would lead to long-term unhappiness, and it may even affect us physically and mentally. And that could lead to underperformance or serious health issues. But I would like to share my experience and 3 tips that could help you to gain more confidence in this process and hopefully make it possible for you. Now, the first step I recommend is to look up the company's HR policy when it comes to internal mobility. I would look that up on the HR portal just to understand what are the existing policies when it comes to that, what are some of the rules, and maybe some even I may even find some examples of how that actually happened. So by reading up about that, I could get clear on at least what are the minimum requirements. In order to qualify for internal mobility, candidates should be at least 18 months within a role. So that's about 1.5 years. Some companies may have longer or shorter requirements, but I think the first step is to at least establish whether we qualify for internal mobility. Now, I think in cases where we actually don't qualify, those would be an opportunity to discuss with our managers about how we can solve the existing problems within the work. Maybe we're new into the role and we're facing difficult challenges in a project, so that we are able to show that we don't give up just because of some challenges we meet along the way, but we are able to demonstrate resilience and overcome problems. So the second step is that if I know that I've already met the internal requirements, then I would definitely talk to my manager. As daunting as it may sound, I think that that's probably the single most effective way to get started, because as the Deloitte study found, managers find that there's a lack of talent within the organization. But if we as talents put up our hands and say that I would like to consider moving to another role, I think that immediately puts up a very clear signal that we want to be considered for internal mobility, and we want to be looked at from the lens of us being talents that would like to move to another part of the organization. And if we don't say anything, managers definitely could not read our minds. We own our own careers, not our boss, not our managers, not even the company itself. We own and take charge and drive our own careers. One of the best times to actually bring this up in a conversation is during annual performance reviews or midterm performance reviews, because I think that's where we discuss performance, promotions, and career related topics. Now, I understand that it may be difficult to talk to our managers sometimes, especially when the problems that we're facing at work are directly related to the manager. In that case, I would recommend the third step, which is to talk to a trusted mentor within the organization. Now, chances are this mentor that we look up to in the organization had already experienced the multiple moves or done different roles within the organization. So that mentor would be able to share from a bird's eye view and from an external perspective how we can navigate the situation, and how we can even bring up that topic very respectfully and politely with our managers. Because eventually we definitely need to talk to our line managers about making a move. And we could solve this problem by thinking about what's holding us back from doing that, and how we can talk to our line managers comfortably. And I think one of the best ways is to get a third party opinion, a trusted opinion like from a mentor. So the fourth step is that once we've already talked to our line managers about it, it's time to start searching for that new role. I would recommend that you start networking, start talking to people in the new department, or start talking to more people than you ever normally would in a week. Because in this job search phase, it's like any other job that we are looking for out there. It takes networking, it takes getting to know people. It's through networking that we discover what are the existing demands and open roles within a company. And I would do this step of networking regardless of whether I already have a target role in mind or not. If I don't, I all the more should do more networking to understand what are the open roles out there. But even if I already had, I think that it's important to get to know the people in the new team already, so that I can make the transition easily into the new team. In the events that we don't have a role in mind already, I think that networking within a company is definitely much easier than just going to networking events where we don't know anyone and we had to just do some cold networking. Because in the company, we already have something in common with people. So even though there is someone in another department that I have never spoken to, but I can easily introduce myself using a simple template. I can go something like, hey, my name is Andrew. I'm from the operations department and I came across your profile because I read it somewhere in the intranet. Or I just insert a statement of how I found this person within a company. And I would like to talk to you over coffee, or just for a quick chat over the phone, just to understand more about what you do and what is your department about. I think 90% of the time people would say yes. The difficulty comes where we actually had to make the approach, but actually the chances are better than we thought. Most people are open to help and would be happy to talk to someone they've never met before, and especially when it's talking about themselves and their department. We don't necessarily need to mention that we are looking for a role, and it could just come off as a usual networking within a company. Now, sometimes the role that we're targeting on the internal jobs board had already been filled, but we have to accept the truth that there are multiple people looking to move at the same time, and they would probably be targeting the same role. Timing is key, and we should not be discouraged. I think that internal mobility is a process that takes time to play out. We won't necessarily get it right. It's not always true that the moment we start looking for a job is the moment when the perfect job that we're looking for pops up. I think it takes time for that role to appear. Sometimes we're too early or sometimes we're too late. But one quote that has really helped me is a quote by Richard Branson, which is, "Business opportunities are like buses. There is always another one coming." So even though we miss this one, like, I wish I had caught the bus, right? But I know, and I've seen this time and time again, that there will always be opportunities that come along, sometimes even better than the one that we're looking for initially. So I think with that being said, the fifth step is to stay positive at all times, because internal mobility is a process, and just because the role that we're looking for is already filled, it doesn't mean that process stops. I think that's where the process actually begins, because we have to start looking for another internal role, and sometimes it takes 3 months or 6 months or 9 months for another role to pop up. But it's important that we stay positive and committed throughout the entire process. Now, some immediate thoughts might come to our minds like, oh, what will my manager think about me that I try to move? Or maybe he thinks that I'm not interested in this role anymore. I think these are just negative self-talk that we should drop. Instead, I think we should stay positive throughout the entire process and not express any negativity or any self-doubt. Because after all, we're looking for a new job. And as a candidate in a new job search, we want to put out our best front out there to show that we're interested, to show that we're excited and we're able to do it. So it's very important that we stay optimistic throughout the entire process. Another mistake to avoid is that if in the event you ever found yourself in a fortunate situation where you had multiple offers, it's important to stay positive and avoid expressing any negative remarks like, I couldn't do it, or maybe that's not for me. Because in this transition time, we want to give a professional image. So don't be too quick to turn down a role. Instead, talk to people, start networking with them, and understand a little bit more about the role. Maybe you can actually overcome those challenges. Maybe those challenges that you thought of initially were not so tough after all. What could potentially happen is that when you get multiple offers, you could simply express to each side what are the offers that you're facing, and who knows, you might even get a better deal out of it. So I hope that these tips help you to navigate your own internal mobility within a career. And my favorite tip is to really stay positive, because I know that it can be hard to do so, and sometimes we may have negative thoughts that arise. But I think that it's not a matter of if, but it's a matter of when we actually make a move in our careers. So thanks for watching this video. If you like this video, check out my other video about my exercise challenge that has helped me to work from home more productively. And if you'd like to see more videos that I'm posting soon about career tips and productivity, please subscribe and follow me, and I look forward to see you in the next video.